Hello everyone. Um, I'm going to show you today how to, two things actually, but I'm going to break them up into two videos. Um, it's actually having to do with preparing a blog post. Um, and there are some preparations you need to do instead of just writing it out and trying to stuff it in there. You got to plan it out a little bit as far as SEO is concerned for your image and the blog itself. And before I show you how to use uh, and make a blog out of Divi, because we have a template all made, I'm going to show you what I do to do preparation for it. And in here you can see I'm actually going to use Allen ties. This is how when I'm doing websites, this is how I go into individual peoples that I work with. And there's folders in here for all these different things. So I'm actually going to go into the blog one, and the one that we're going to do is number 4, the Book of Nature. So what I'm going to show you here is how I lay out all the work. It went over to my other screen, pulling it back. In the Book of Nature. When I got this from Alan, Alan is a scientist, and he's a physicist, and his name is Alan Ty. And Alan sent this to me. One thing that we have to remember when we're doing blog posts is that we can't use such big paragraphs. You got to remember that many times people are going to be looking at these from mobile devices. So you want to break up long paragraphs and break them into smaller sections and sentences. So I actually started out here with the title at the top, and then I made everything throughout this whole blog into the font that it's actually going to be used, which is Helvetica, and it's 14 point. You can see right here it's telling it's Helvetica, because I try to make the blog posts very consistent from one to the next, so you're not always having to fool around. I may use italicized Helvetica, sometimes bold, sometimes different things in Helvetica, but I try to keep that. And then there's something else that I do with it's called an end cap in the very first word. But I will go into that when I start to build this. But at any rate, I start going through here. And the other thing that you probably want to do is use, when you write out a blog, is use Grammarly. I need it big time. I actually signed up and spent $60 on the professional version of Grammarly, but you can also get the free version, and that helps a lot, but I need a lot more help on my blog, so I use a professional version. It not only cleans up all the grammar and punctuations, but it also tells you how to rephrase certain sentences. That's what the pro version does. The free version does cleans up sentences and spelling and things like that. Anyway, one of the things that I want to say here is every 300 words or so, you need to do two things. Bring in another photograph, and then you need to have a header, and that's what I did right here. I took a sentence, a small sentence, and it can't be more than probably 10 or 12 words, but then you want to make a heading. I'll tell you more about that when we start to put the blog together itself. But I kind of split this up right now, so it's done ahead of time. This one's a fairly long article here, and I believe the word count on this guy is 733, is what it's saying here. Now that's not all the words, but so I try to break this up every couple hundred words, and this is going to be your first one is going to be your H1 tag, and you only have one H1 tag on your blog post or your website page. And this is good practice by Google. These are some of the things I'm telling you here. and on building the site is Google best practices for SEO. So what is the book of nature? This is his main title. So that's going to be the H1 tag. And then inside of here, he's going to have an H3 tag. And I'll show you where I'm going to put the H2 tag in a minute. You can only have one H1 tag on your whole blog or page. You can have multiple H2 tags and H3 tags and H4 tags. So about halfway down in here, about 200 words, I bolded this, and that's where an H3 tag is going to be. And then further down here, I couldn't find a smaller sentence to make it, so I broke it up, and you can see how I did it. I broke up the sentence here and put dot, 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 and then started back here. So I made this guy right here an H3 tag. And then, so the thought was still going along, so there's 3 more dots right here. Because this is really all one sentence. But this still reads really good, and I'm still doing the best practices for an H3 tag. And then going down here, I did another one here. Same thing with dot, dot, dot. Other things that you want to do when people are talking and you want to do an italicized, so I made italicized through all of here. And so I've got a lot of things here, and then when I was talking about a specific book, I was using italicized through here, and then I just did a cross line here to deviate and show that it was a book. Okay? Now, when you want to do a link, and one of the big things that's going to be very important is to have an outbound link in your blog or website page, or an inbound link. You need both. One, you only need one, and they're very easy to do. I'm building, in the template for the blog, I'm building an inbound link in the template, so you won't have to worry about that. But when you're writing your article, you're going to have to think about an outbound link. You only need one, but Alan has actually 3 here. He was actually writing this out and having it show up, but I changed that, and we're going to do a hyperlink to this one for Galileo Galilei, and it's going to be a hyperlink to this guy. This guy will disappear. The website address will disappear into this guy right here. But we don't want to have this guy showing up like this. And now, the second thing is, and Alan wrote a book, so he's usually on his blog posts, he's talking about, so people can go and find his book. So we will do a hyperlink to his book. Now, the other thing that I do ahead of time, so I'm not, because I'm writing out or doing the whole blog on a Word document, and then making it Helvetica 14 point, then taking it over to Grammarly and getting all the grammar and spelling and everything corrected. Then, when I'm all done here, then I come up with the title, the SEO title, the SEO meta description, and the SEO excerpt. And the thing that Google will be seeing will be the title, and it will be what is a book of nature, and then it will have a pipe to separate it. Then always I put Science and Life, or the name of the blog, or not the blog, but the name of the website itself. And this is really called scienceandlife.net. So then I put that there. You get a little creative at this point, and then put Alan. Oh, spelled it wrong there. It's Alan. Okay, I can't do it when I'm making a change here, but I made it with an E, and I actually made it with an A right here. Anyways, I'm going to change that before I go back to fix this, but it won't let me change it as I'm trying to work on this guy right now. Let me see if I can do that. There it is. Okay, Alan is spelled right there. So, but the meta description is only 140 characters. So you got to be very careful with that. This might be a little bit too long. And then when I put it in there, I'll go back and eliminate some things. The excerpt, you can have a lot more. And that's what shows up in your blogs and when your blogs go out to the social media and things like that, it's going to have an excerpt as well as a focus. Your focus keyword will be your title, but then you're also going to have focus a focus image. So this is the part on here that's going to be the big deal. And this is how I prepare it and get it all ready. So then I'm going to go up here and save that, so I don't want to lose that. And then it will have the correction. I'm going to pull this out of the way. And now here are a couple of photographs that I had found to go along with his article. We need to have a main photograph. And I was looking at a couple of things here that I had found on the internet. And his article has a lot to do with Galileo. So this is actually, I think, Galileo explaining something to one of his students. Then there was another one here that is Galileo and on the surface of Saturn, because they made a Galileo was the one that had came up with a telescope, but they also named a satellite that went by Saturn and Jupiter called Galileo too. And I might use this one on the inside of the article, and that's what this image was right here, was this guy, the satellite. So for the main focus image, this is the image that's going to follow it everywhere. So, but you have to make it the right size. Right now, it is too big. So I'm going to open this up with Photoshop. There are other things that you can use that are free software for working on your images, and I'll send a link to that for everybody. But I have Adobe Photoshop. So what I'm going to do here is the image here. I'm going to take a look and see what size this image is. And it's a 4x25 at 300. We don't want to post up anything larger in your website, either on your pages or your blog, that is larger than the resolution here. It's going to be 96. Okay, most of the images are 72. But when we do the focus image, we make that one a little bit bigger because it's going to be across the top of your blog or your website. So I make it a 96. So what I do is I go back in here, and the other thing that you need to do is make it a 9x5. That makes it a perfect fit for the featured image. Remember that word, featured image. This is the image that will show up at the top of all your blogs and your website, but mostly your blogs right here. And it will be at 96. So I already have it cropped into the ratio that I want it, and it's going to be a 96. And I'm going to shrink it down here just a little bit and get the top of that guy's bald head. And then I'm going to tell it to crop it. Okay. And now it's a 9x5, but it's not at 96 yet. And I'm going to tell it here to make it 9x5. And then I'm going to tell it to bring it in at 96. Okay. So that's where it's at here. Then I'm going to hit OK. And you can see it shrunk down right here. But I don't want to lose the original. So what I'm going to do is go up here and I'm going to tell it to not save because it will save the original image, but I'm going to hit Save As. Okay, and it's going to come up here, and I'm going to rename this Galileo, and I'm just going to say teaching, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to tell it to save it. And if I look behind it here, you'll see, here's the picture right here, Galileo teaching, and it's at 96. And here's the original, and you can see it's quite a bit bigger. But now it's been shrunk down to the size we need. Usually, if I'm going to have a couple of images, I will probably make another folder inside of this guy here and tell it to make, right here, I'm going to say blog photos, so I can keep them separated. Blog photos. Okay, so that's my folder, blog photos. And this is the one that he was teaching, and I'm going to take it and slide it in there. So we need another one, and I'm thinking about doing this one. I can make it the same ratio, or I can make it a different ratio altogether. And let's see how big this one is. I'm going to tell this one to open it into Photoshop again. This one might be too small, but I'm going to take a look right now. Yeah, it is. Normally on an image that's going to go into the content of the blog post, you want it around a 7:6 at 72. So this one's actually too small. I could probably go out and find something a little better, but I think this one may work really well here too. So I'm going to bring this one in, and there she is. So let's see how big this one is, and you can go in here, and it's going to tell us it's an 8. It's almost a 9 by. So I actually want to make this one a little bit smaller, and I can do this without cropping it because I'm not trying to make it a 9 by 5. I'm going to use whatever height dimensions they are with the same resolution. And like I said, I'd like to go about a 7. So this is going to actually shrink it down a little bit. So I'm going to tell it OK. And then I don't want to lose this image, so I'm going to tell it to save. And then Galileo, Jupiter, but I'm going to take the number out of here. And what you got to also remember is when you're saving these images, you want to do lowercase with a hyphen in between each one, because that's how Google and any of the search engines look at it. So this one says Galileo Jupiter moons, and then I'm going to tell it to save it, and I'm going to hit OK, and then we've got it right here. So actually, these are my two images. If I wanted to do a third image, if I was up 900 words, I'd bring another image in, and maybe something like this, that they accentuated to Galileo, or maybe another person. You got to be careful of grabbing images from the outside world. It's okay to do this once in a while, especially if you're doing hyperlinks back to a specific source. Okay, so right now I have my article all ready to go. Here, article's all set, and I save and I hold on to these. And then this, by doing this ahead of time on a Word document, makes putting it into the blog really quick. And then I have two photographs. One is the featured image, which is going to be this guy, and then an image that's going to go on the inside of the article itself. So this is preparation for making a blog, and it doesn't matter if you're making this in WordPress or any other kind of a blog thing. You should still do this kind of preparation ahead of time and getting your SEO all connected. And SEO is very similar to this on pages, but also different. So this will get you in the ballpark, and I hope this helps. And then I'm going to close out of here. So happy blogging.